Welcome and good evening. My name is Ozzy Stern, a country Victorian gamer of Star Wars Armada, Star Wars Legion, Dystopian, Flames of War, Battletech, and many other games in between. This is part 3 of my painting of my DP-20s. Part 2 of painting my space station, and showing off another project that I've done offline. So with the DP-20, I've pretty much painted a bit more of the green sections, both on the underside and over. I still have to do a bit of varnishing and shade work, but that's looking pretty good for now. What I wanted to talk to you about today and show off is that originally I've put a yellow base on, like I described in the previous video, and now I've gone back and added a red. In this case it is a scarlet red, and I'm doing lines across it, painting in areas, filling in the gaps. To make it look nicer. Now I've shown you in my previous video the clip of what I'm wanting it to look like. So what I'm trying to do is to follow that guide of the picture and painting all those locations using a small brush, going around the edges of the model. To create those shapes. Like so. Once I've finished doing the colours, I'm not 100% certain what type of wash I should use on this one. I've got a couple of options. I've got a red option, or I can go with the standard black. I think for the yellow section it may be best to go with the black, but I'm not 100% about the red. I'll probably have to investigate that a little bit more. Just going with the lines as best as possible. And of course I'm going to have to do a fair bit of touch-ups with this one, as it's not sitting as well as I would like. Anyway, so I'm going to continue on painting this, and I'll come back and start doing the washes on this and show you a continuation of my washes on the other. For my space station, now I've already done the metal across, and I've also done some cleaning. Now I want to do some color here on the pads. For it, I'm going to use a bronze. I'm hoping if I use a bronze and then use a dark wash of some sort, that dark color will just go into the recesses, and just so that it's not quite as bright. Now, there's no actual color photos that I've found of this. There are a number of pictures in the RPG books, etc., but they're all in a black and white. Not really colored. The ones that I have seen in color are more so from the computer games, and it's usually a lot more monotone in that it doesn't have lots of color. It's just more a stark grey color. And of course, not always can you get the up nice close pictures to give you as much detail as possible. So I'm just choosing some colors that I like. Obviously, if you want to do this space station in a different color, you can. Obviously, grey tones are very predominant in the Star Wars universe for Imperials, and also just background. If I was going to paint this as something during the time of the New Republic, the Old Republic I should say, and the start of the Clone Wars, I'd probably do it more so in a lighter grey. If I was to do it for a pirate or even a separatist, I'd probably go with even a darker grey than this, or something that has a lot of various shades and wear and tear. Obviously, for other eras, you'll want to have a look at what's the predominant features. But generally for a space station, I think just going with the neutral greys is pretty good. I won't put any sort of decal on it or any type of graffiti to indicate that it's specifically associated with one faction or another. There. So I'll let that dry. You'll also note, and I'll see if I can get it right, I've also painted these sections under here in that blue as well. So now I've got a couple of docks, a couple of levels that are lit up with interior lights. I could light up some of this area as well. I'm thinking I'll probably just leave it as is. There's also this docking arm underneath that I might do some colours with, or I might just leave it as that grey as well. With that structure that I've done, I'm just going to do a little bit of excess dry brush of that bronze just to give it a bit of wear and to say that it's a little bit more than just one dimension or one color tone. So just taking a little bit of the bronze, scraping it off from the brush. And then gently applying it to the raised surfaces. And that's it. As you can see now that a couple hours have gone past, the models are now nice and dry. You can see that I've pretty much fully shaded in as much of the areas as possible. It does have a dirty look to it, but on the other hand, considering that they are rebels and cleanliness is not something that you would associate with the Rebel Alliance, it's pretty good. I still have to do a little bit on that back engine areas. They didn't come out as well as I would like, but that's pretty much it for the green one. I just have to take it out to the shed to give it a final varnish to protect all the paint, and maybe a little bit of dry brushing in some areas. Excuse me. Now for the other one, I've completely painted it red in those areas that I wanted to. Still got a bit of touch-up jobs to do on the top, which I will do soonish. But you can see that the underside I've already started with the varnish, with the null oil shade on the yellow spots and the red spots. It isn't coming out as well as one would like, primarily because the paint for the yellow and the red are quite thick. I think if I was to do this model again, I'd probably thin out the paint a bit more for the red and the yellow, and do a little bit more dry cut, a bit more lighter paint. But you can still see that there is those areas where the shadow is collecting. Obviously there I have to do a bit of touch-ups, but for the rest of it, it's looking pretty good. And there I've done the front as best I can. There's not much you can do to get that just perfectly right in some ways, because there's not really a lot of high detail in there. And that's my second one that I've almost pretty much completed. The paint has come up well with it, in that it does look nice and red, and it's certainly a lot different than my other DP-20. So I think both of them will stand out quite well. Lastly, the space station. Like I said, I've done the coats of paint on the shields, done some cleanup, and that one's also pretty much ready for varnishing, as I don't really want to do too much extra with it. In between all of that, just to let you know, I've done a couple of other jobs. This is a Action 6 bulk transport. Some people will recognize this from some of the Sector Command games that I've played, where it's just been blank, but now it's nicely painted. I've gone with a Troll Slayer orange, and I've also gone with a charred brown for the middle section, and I think that's pretty much done. I'd still have to do the engine, which I'll do shortly. It will be a light blue, but other than that, that's pretty good. Now, my next project that I'm going to work on is going to be something completely different. While I was at PAX, I purchased some scenery by a company called Miniature Scenery. Now, I was a little bit surprised by this, because they happen to actually have their main store quite close by, up in Bendigo actually, so only 30 minutes away. So all of these are basically sci-fi inspired terrain. There's a lot of historical stuff as well that you can get. This one's called the Sci-Fi Power Generator, and it's all in MDF, as you can see, all in wood. And I'll punch this out and build it all over the next couple of days and then paint it. All the instructions are online from their website, which is pretty handy. And I also picked up a central process building. There's a few other buildings that I'm thinking about getting as well over time, but this one is just the start. So I think that looks pretty good as well. And just to show you the wide range, that's the catalogue. So they do things like sci-fi buildings, fantasy buildings, vehicles, modular painting tables or painting stations, cutting boards, all sorts of things. So I'll be taking a look at that more in detail as time goes on. But for now, from Uzzy Stern, saying I hope you have enjoyed. Please like, please subscribe, please leave a comment, and I will see you on the table. Bye for now.